Welcome to the That's Life podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of life and everything in between. Here's your host, Shane Lakita.
What's going on, friends? How is everybody? I hope you guys are well. Welcome back to another episode of the That's Life podcast. It's been a minute. It's been a little bit of time since I recorded my last podcast, and there's been multiple reasons for that, and I'll share that with you and kind of go into the details and reasons why I stepped away for a period of time. And I'll just get right into it. So for any of you that follow me for a long period of time, you know that there are ups and downs in life and all kinds of different stuff, and stuff happens, and you guys have all kind of followed along. A lot of you that have been around for a while anyway, to know that, you know, I've had family issues here and there. I've had legal issues here and there. I've had all kinds of different things that have happened throughout my whole entire journey. And you guys have been a part of that with me. And this podcast has always been kind of like a therapeutic thing for me. But what I found was, especially over the latest election, now I'm going to be very forthright and open with all of you, for you to know that this is not a political podcast. We talk about that all the time. I may talk about some current events or some things to be able to kind of layer in to know how I'm feeling about things. But at the end of the day, this last election was not a good one for me and my family, because we definitely were going a certain direction, and we felt that needed to go a certain direction. And whether you agree with it or not, that's okay. We can agree to disagree. But it really hit our family pretty hard. And so I kind of went into this space where I was like, you know, why am I going to sit down and I'm going to share about trying to look at the positive things, or try to be able to dig into the positive aspect of life in general, when I feel like my world around me is literally crumbling all apart, and the basics of humanity was in question for me. So it was a really, really difficult thing for me. So I felt like I would have been a fraud if I sat back and said, I'm gonna hop on a podcast. I'm going to talk to you guys about how to overcome adversity. I'm going to talk to you guys about how to overcome things in life that are thrown at you, and for you to be able to move forward with one foot in front of the other, when in all actuality, I wouldn't have been feeling that. So I would much rather not do that for you, because it'd be like lying to you, right? And at the end of the day, I don't want to ever lie to you guys, and I don't want to lie to myself, to be honest with you. So I was in a bad space, in a bad spot. So I feel like we've come out of it a little bit, my family and I, especially me, and just accepted reality for what it is. But I also am starting to get those old juices going about thinking about life and how to be better, and how to move forward, and how to continue to kill people with kindness and do the things that are necessary for us to be able to move the needle in a space, in a world where it's a negative, gross place a lot of times, and people are not very nice. And so at the end of the day, I have to go against the grain of where we're at with anger, vitriol, energy, and all this other stuff that's going on. And I got to step and rise above that. I have to step over that to be able to say, okay, if we want to be able to move things forward in a space where men help men, women help women, men help women, we all get together hand in hand to be able to come together as a society, the only way you can do that is with love and kindness. I don't care what you say about policy. I don't care what you say about hatred. I don't care what you say about your judgmental reasoning of why you think somebody should be or shouldn't be doing something that they shouldn't be doing or should be doing. Whatever it is, in my own world, in my own space, the only way that I can move forward is I know that I have to be that advocate. I've got to be the catalyst to be able to push things forward, because it's the only way that I know that I can make a positive difference and impact in life and myself, my family's well-being, everything, just everything in general. So if you're feeling the same way that I am, I hope you are starting to kind of rebound a little bit. And of course, if you're feeling in a way that during the whole entire election and everything else that was going on and this whole entire season, and your party wins and the person that you want to win goes in the White House, then you're in celebration mode. You're ready to go, right? You're like, okay, let's make this happen. So with all that being said, here I am. And as you all know, this is called That's Life. And part of That's Life is the ups and downs and the overs and unders and the negatives and the positives and all those things, all put together in just one big package for us to be able to experience, go through, live the ups and downs of just everything in general. And I know that all of you can relate to that, Because no matter where you sit and no matter where you are, life sucks sometimes. We go through ups and downs where we feel like we're on top of the world. We can accomplish whatever we set our minds to. And then there's other times when we feel like we're at the lowest point of the earth and there's nothing out there that can save us. There's nothing out there that can do anything for us to be able to pull out of the doldrums that we're sitting in. And at the end of the day, that's not a good space to live in. But this is life. Life deals all kinds of cards to us. As a matter of fact, if you really look at the grand scheme of things, life often deals more bad things to you than it does the good things. Because that's why when the good things happen, we're like shocked almost. We're like, oh, wait a minute. Did that just happen to me? I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting something good to happen to me in that situation. Because normally in my lifespan or the time that I've been on this earth, life always deals those negative things to me. Where I feel like I'm clawing and I'm trying to be able to come back on things and do and always have to be the phoenix rising versus just being somebody at the top to be able to say, that's right, I did this. Because that's normal. That's what humans go through. And at the end of the day, if we're going through it all together, you, me, everybody that you in your whole circle of life, this is what we're all going through. And no matter what our differences are, we're all going through the same kind of stuff. So we need to start to come together and be able to, hand in hand, be able to move things forward. And like I said earlier, the only way that we're able to move things forward is through kindness, through love, through adoration, through encouragement, and those kind of things. All the negative stuff will just break people down and make people feel like crap every day. But the good stuff, the stuff that we can help to alleviate some of the pressure that people are feeling in this whole entire situation, or maybe give a little bit of, hope to somebody that just lives in a space or is surrounded by people that are just negative individuals all the time. We are the only people that can change that narrative. We're the only people that can literally change the whole entire conversation that I'm having with somebody just based on the fact that I encourage them, I listen to them, and I acknowledge them. Versus shutting them down to try to tell them how to think or what to do, I now say, hold on, I can relate to that. I can understand that. And if you want some tips and pointers of the way that it's worked for me or not worked for me, and I can share those experiences, let's work together on this hand in hand, right? So I'm hoping that we can do that moving forward. Who knows what the whole future looks like, but I know, like I said before, this podcast is a therapeutic thing for me. And it helps me to be able to put my thoughts in one section for me to be able to let it all out there, get it off my chest, and move things forward. And I'm hoping you're just going to continue to be a part of that with me. So I will be creating some little bit more consistency with this podcast to be able to move it forward. I am actually going to be working on a new venture here soon with a buddy of mine. He's opening a pickleball court here in Maine, southern Maine. And basically it's an 8-court system for pickleball, cornhole, all kinds of different things that they're going to be playing in there. Brand new facility building up from the scratch. And he came to me the other day and he asked me, he goes, hey, listen, I know you do podcasts. I know you're pretty familiar with this aspect of it. What do you think about us doing a podcast? And I said, well, tell me more. He says, I'd like to do a podcast about, not just about pickleball, but I'd like to do like maybe a portion of it about pickleball, bringing some coaches in, maybe some people to talk about the sport itself as it's growing and exploding all over the country. And I'd like to be able to have that part of it, but also to talk about sports. He goes, you and I always vibe together. We always joke around each other, and we have a great time together. And whenever we make each other laugh like crazy. Why can't we put that into an audio format? So be on the lookout for something like that. I'm going to be putting something like that together. We haven't even decided on the name yet, but we're just kind of coming down with the framework of what it might look like and how we're going to be able to move that forward. So be on the lookout for that too. Okay. All right. So let's get right into the meat and potatoes of this podcast, because this is something that I read this morning and I wanted to be able to share with all of you. As I was contemplating what I wanted to record, and I'll be honest with you, the reason I'm recording today is because last night I went to a Christmas party with my wife, and we were kind of just hanging out and stuff like that. And there was an individual that was there that I didn't know listened to the podcast and didn't know followed me on social media or anything like that. And she walks over to me and she goes, hello, Liquidshano. And I said, what's going on? How you doing? And she said to me, she goes, listen, I wanted to let you know that I'm really inspired by your podcast, and I'm really inspired by your words and the things that you bring to the table. And anytime that I feel like I'm at the doldrums and the low point of where I'm at, I can go in and listen to any of the episodes that you talk about, whether it's expressing yourself of what you're going through during those tough times or how you overcome adversity and those kind of things. It means a lot to me. Now, I was emotional about this and I went, wow, thank you so much for sharing that with me. It's been a struggle lately. I haven't really been putting a lot of, positive content out because for me, it's been a rough ride. And she said to me, she goes, well, that's when we need you the most, I think, because we all go through the same kind of things that you do. So share with us. And maybe one thought or one situation or one thing that you put into place might help somebody else out that's really struggling. And I went, wow, that's true. So I stepped back and my wife looked at me. She just kind of put her hand on my knee and said, hey, listen, you need to start recording again. People are listening to your podcast that you don't even know are listening to your podcast. And they listen to it for reasons that they're looking for some guidance, some positivity, just a place to sit that's a safe space for them to go to that they can just kind of vent or get things off their chest to be able to say, oh, I get that, or I can relate to that, or they don't feel like they're alone. And I said, you're right. So here I am. This is the podcast for today. So I got up first thing this morning after thinking about all that last night, and I wanted to be inspired by something. So I was thinking to myself, okay, what's the most inspiring thing that I can talk about right now, actually, that can speak a little bit on realism along with inspiration? And one of the things that I thought of is we're going to be coming up on New Year's Eve here soon, right? I mean, we're like 3 weeks away from 2025. Yeah, that's right. And we are coming into a new year where we're always talking about what's our plan and what's our goals and what's our aspirations and what are we trying to be able to work towards. And then I opened up this quote from a gentleman named Joseph Campbell, and it just came across my feed, and it really meant a lot to me, and I want to share it with you. So basically, the quote says, we must let go of the life we have planned so as to accept the one that is waiting for us. Now let's talk about that for a second. This is something that I do all the time, right? I try to plan things out. I try to be able to map things the way that they need to go. I try to be able to give myself contingency plans. I try to be able to move it forward, but I know what the goal is, and I know what I want it to look like, and I know what direction I feel that it needs to go. And I start to go towards those goals, right? Whether they're achievable or whether they're not, whether they're smart goals, whether they're not, whether they're too big or too small or whatever it is, they're my goals. And this is just kind of where I'm at with it. And that's how I'm wired. If I give myself a goal to be able to shoot for, I want to shoot for that goal and attack it and go after it to the best of my ability, no matter what, no matter what's going on, no matter where we are or anything like that. Well, just looking at this quote where it says, we must let go of the life we have planned. That's the first part. We must let go of the life we have planned. We all have an idea of what direction we should be. We all have an idea of where we should be, I don't know, educationally. We have an idea of where we should be professionally. We have an idea where we should be family-wise, financially, all these things. We have an idea of what it looks like to be successful. We have an idea of where we want to be and where we strive to be always from where we are at this moment in time. All of us, we have these dreams and aspirations that we try to be able to shoot for that a lot of times are unachievable or unattainable just based on the fact that those are dreams and aspirations where you could still have them on the docket of trying to shoot for them, but you can't label that as being what the normal life needs to look like, right? Those aspirations and those dreams are those for a reason. They're not reality. They're not really sitting in reality. Oftentimes, we let them go or we get frustrated trying to be able to strive for them because they're not something we can achieve. And if they're dreams and they're aspirations, these are things you can shoot for, but don't ever label it as being a failure if you don't get to it because you, I don't know, were unsuccessful or life dealt you more cards or you got medically tapped out or whatever other reason that's out there for us to be able to not be able to move that forward. At the end of the day, we're shooting for that. We're being able to try to be able to go for those dreams and aspirations, but don't make that your final goal, right? So if I'm going to look at life in general, I'm going to say I want my life or this next year when I'm setting aspirations and expectations for 2025, and I say to myself, I want to be a millionaire, and I want to be 75 pounds lighter, and I want to be whatever I listed all out there, I'm not really setting myself up for success just based on the fact that those are really, really lofty goals. And then more often than not, I'm going to fail. And then I'm going to feel frustrated. And then I'm going to give up and I'm going to tap out and do all the things that, that we do whenever we get frustrated with those kind of things. Hey guys, one of the things that I get from a lot of individuals that listen to the show, that watch the show, that follow me on social media is, how can I help the podcast? Well, here's one of the ways that you can. I have a Patreon page. Now, you may not be familiar with what a Patreon page is, but what you can do is you can sign up to become a patron of the show. You could donate monthly to the show. Now, after a few months of donating monthly to the show, there's different tiers to be able to donate to. But you'll get some tchotchkes back. You'll get some merchandise back. You'll get something for actually donating to the show. But in the meantime, it helps to alleviate some of the cost that comes into running a podcast or doing different stuff. So if you're looking to support, I'm going to place the link of the Patreon page right into the bio. And I'll also tell you what it is. It's www.patreon.com/that's_life. And this way, you can support the podcast, you can give back, we can do all kinds of different stuff, and we can grow together. So I appreciate all the support you've given me in the past and in the future and right now. So thank you so much, and back to the show. So when the quote says that, I want you to think about that, right? When you're setting your goals and you're sitting down and you're thinking to yourself, how can I be better? How can I move things forward? Well, listen, what's going on in your life right now at this moment is something you need to take a look at. Because oftentimes we're always striving for more. We're always striving for bigger and better. All of us are. Every single one of us, no matter where we're at, no matter where we're sitting, we're always wanting to get more. We're always wanting to strive for something huger and more grand and whatever. If we have a little bit of money, we want more money. If we're losing weight, we want to lose more weight. All these things that we have going on. And we always set these things up to just always wanting more. When rather, the second part of that quote, if you remember listening to it, was so as to accept one that is waiting for us. Now, this is the hardest thing to be able to do. Can you accept reality for what it is right now? The space that you're sitting in right now and where you're at with your weight loss journey, with financial, with relationships, whatever it is, can you accept it for what it is right now and just try to make it a little better? It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be this grandiose, gigantic, huge, hectic thing that you're trying to be able to strive for, when rather you can take a look at a lot of the positive things that are going on in your life and just make them a little bit better. Right? Just a little bit better. And it doesn't have to be that they're a failure right now, because you can actually celebrate in that and continue to do something that's actually working for you and that you're actually enjoying or anything like that. You can continue to move that forward. But more times than not, we're always going down the negative path. We're always thinking to ourselves, I failed at that. I wasn't good enough at that. I took the situation that I was sitting in. I could have been better in the following ways. And then we get really, really down on ourselves rather than accepting life for what it is and understanding that whatever is brought your way is part of your journey. So we need to stop fighting that. Oftentimes we fight these things that are brought to us right in front of our faces because it's not what we thought it was going to be. It's opposite of the direction that we really figured that we were going to be fighting for. I figured that I was going to be here at this moment in time, or I figured that we were going to be there at this moment in time, rather than here we are in the space that we are in right now. And maybe I'm blessed with a little bit of a gift here and there, or maybe I had a little bit of a pitfall or something that came down to it, but I'm still focused on living my best life to where I can right now. And living my best life doesn't mean the best, doesn't mean the biggest, doesn't mean the richest, doesn't mean all those things. Living my best life means when I get up in the morning and I go throughout my day, am I making a positive impact on people? Am I making a positive impact on me? Am I looking at myself in the mirror and saying, hey, you know what, you can accomplish this. We got this. We can do whatever it takes to be able to move things forward, rather than, oh, you stink. Oh, you failed. You've done it so many times in the past. Don't you know you're probably going to fail again? And don't you know you're probably going to disappoint the people around you and yourself? No, let's not live in that space. And the reason that we live in that space is because, again, our expectations are set out so high that we have an idea of where we should be rather than accepting where we are and knowing good things will come down the road. So instead of trying to be able to set your expectations that you hope or pray or those kind of things of these things happening, and then if it doesn't happen the way that you want it to, what happens? You're disappointed. You're down in the dumps. You're angry. You're pissed off. You got all these things going wrong for you at that moment in time because your mindset is that wasn't how it was supposed to go. That wasn't the situation that I agreed to here. That wasn't something that I looked in the book and saw that it should be looking like this, when in all actuality, life is looking a different way. And I'm not accepting of that because for whatever reasons. Now, don't get me wrong. Your standards can still be high. You can still set really high standards for yourself and understand that sometimes we don't want to accept mediocrity. We don't want to accept something that's just kind of middle of the road, ho-hum, blah, whatever, right? We want to expect greatness for ourselves. We want to expect good things all around us. But expecting it and then also living your life around it to be able to understand that life doesn't always go as the way that you want it to or the way that is planned, but rather when it goes a different direction, what are you doing? Are you fighting the system or are you going with the system? Are you fighting against the grain when life deals you a different set of cards? Or are you going with it going, you know what, I'm going to make the best of this. I'm going to make this situation the best that I can make the situation. That's the real question. And that's difficult. It's hard. It's not easy to sit back and look at your life and accept it for what it is and appreciate all the things that you have, not always thinking about the things that you don't have, appreciating all the things that I have. I got 2 feet that I can put on the ground, that I can feel the ground underneath my feet. I got out of bed. That's a positive. I got up, I went downstairs, I poured myself a coffee, which I have a coffee maker, which makes the coffee for me. I sip on my coffee with both hands around the mug, and I say to myself, look at the steam coming off this coffee mug, and then I give the whole Folgers commercial, at the end of a sip when I sit there and sip my coffee. These are things that I have. These are things that I'm blessed with. These are things that I've earned, that I've put myself in a place that, wow, you know what? Even if it might have been a bad day, I still have this coffee that I've earned. I still got up out of bed that I've whether I worked out the day before, I'm keeping myself fairly healthy. I'm doing the things that I have to do. I got out of bed. I was able to do whatever I had to do and be able to move things forward. So these are positive things. But instead, a lot of times I might sit back and say, you know what, it'd be so much better if I had this brand of a coffee maker, or I had some espresso to go with blah, 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 or I had the top shelf coffee, the stuff that I can't afford, the Javalia, or whatever other kinds of coffees that they have that are out there. Rather, I have the Folgers that I bought, real cheap at the store that I had to be able to move things forward. No, live in the space of, I have it. I'm blessed with this. Now I'm appreciative of this. We don't do it enough. We don't appreciate the things that we do have, the people that we do have around us, and the situations that are arising. So when it says, make sure you're able to accept the life that is waiting for us outside of it, you have to get in the right frame of mind to do so. If you're always disappointed by the fact that you're not where you want to be, or it's not meeting the expectations of what you thought it was going to be, or the relationship isn't where it needs to be, all those things, we're living in this space. We're never clear-minded enough to understand that a good life is actually waiting for us on the other side here as we move things forward. We're not clear-headed enough to be able to open our eyes and see everything that's going on around us, appreciate all the things that we do have, and live in that space. It doesn't always have to be, I need more, or I need better, or why does life have to deal these things to me, right? No, how about this? Life has dealt you whatever it dealt you, so here are the cards that I've been dealt with. I had a conversation the other night. I know I'm going to go off on a trail here, but I had a conversation the other night with my son, and we were talking about, he said to me, he got in some trouble when he was younger. And, we went through a lot, lawyer fees and lawyer stuff and all this other stuff. And so he said to me, he was working a full-time job and he's doing really well. And, he's getting his head wrapped around everything, right? And he says to me, he goes, Dad, I put you through a lot of stuff, and I feel bad for that. And so I looked at him and I said, wait a minute. Why do you feel bad for that? Just because we had to go to court and we had to do all these different things? No, you're at a place right now that everything that we've been through is part of your journey. So I'm appreciative of the things that we've been through. Why? Because maybe the things that we went through stopped you from getting in more trouble and being thrown in jail or having some other things happen. Maybe the things that you've been through are making you the man that you are right now. And this is kind of cool. All the little things that you're learning, the goods, the bads, the ups, the downs, we're blessed to be able to be in a space that we can do that. We're blessed to be on this earth to be able to move things forward and be in a positive space of understanding this is what I have, this is what I'm blessed with, and this is what I'm appreciative of. So when I'm in that mindset now and I've got this clear-eyed, and I told him this, I said, when you're clear-eyed like that, you understand it's okay to have the journey that you've had. Now we're just going to accept life for what it is moving forward, giving it framework the whole time, right? We want to give it boundaries. We want to be able to give it a focus and a direction and then see where life takes you rather than you always saying, I need life to be this way. This is the direction that we need to go in. This is how we need to accomplish this. This is no questions asked. This is what it's got to be. It's got to look like the following. No, that's not what it's all about. And oftentimes we forget that. We forget that life is pretty special at times. We forget that relationships are pretty special at times. We forget that kindness is special at times. We forget that love is actually a word that's acceptable and not something that's kind of taboo that people talk about. I gave a guy last night when we were at that event. We were at this the holiday event last night with my wife that I was telling you about earlier. And there was this guy that was there, a good buddy of mine, and whatever. And so he came up to shake my hand and say, happy holidays. And I said, hey, bring it in for a hug, man. He looks at me kind of weird. And he goes, I love you, man. And he just kind of had this weird look to his face because a lot of times guys don't think that way. We don't talk to each other that way. But at the end of the day, why not tell him, I love you, man. I love you like a brother. It's really cool, man. Right? I love you. And I gave him a big hug and I brought it in. And he was kind of thrown back. And he said, oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, man, I love you back, right? I have a lot of friends that when I first started saying, love you, man, they didn't know how to take it. They were sitting back going, wait a minute, what is this? Well, at the end of the day, if I don't tell somebody how I truly feel about them, and if I do love them, because love doesn't have to be a sexual thing. Love doesn't have to be an intimate thing. Love can be something that you look at somebody from the bottom of your heart and you look at them and you say, I appreciate everything about you. But oftentimes we don't throw that word around enough, because people are afraid of what the connotations that come with it or the things that come attached to the word love and those kind of things. That's another podcast for another day. But it's the truth, right? So right now, I'm making sure that I am clear-eyed enough with the things that I'm appreciative of and the way that I'm continuing to move forward so that I know that whatever's thrown my way moving forward, I'm going to be ready to be able to accept that as being part of my life. Not to say, oh, man, this really sucks and this is the bump in the road and, I'm a failure or whatever else. No, I look at it as saying, okay, this is part of the journey. This is part of the journey of getting to where I want to be, or part of the journey of just living this life to the best of my ability right now. Now, I don't know if any of that makes sense to you, but it made sense to me as I'm sitting here talking to you about it. And I will tell you already, I feel like it's already been a therapy session for me to be able to sit down and talk about being appreciative of everything that's going on in my life, being clear-eyed to understand that life is pretty special and beautiful all around me, and I need to be open and willing to accept it as I'm crossing through the journey and doing the things that I have to do. We are only on this earth for a short amount of time. And when we're here, if I'm not striving to just continue to be kind, to love on each other, to share stories and be able to share experiences and those kind of things with each other with some humor and whatever else that comes into play, then I don't know what life is worth, right? So at the end of the day, that's where I'm focused. And I hope that you focus on things that make you happy. I hope you focus on things that you can be appreciative of, things that you can quantify and say, you know what, I'm appreciative of the fact that I have shoes on my feet because some people don't. I'm appreciative of the fact that, man, I got food in my cupboard because a lot of people don't. I'm appreciative of the fact that I got a car that gets me from A to B, that I can go to work every day. Some people don't. Right? At the end of the day, be appreciative of everything you have. Clear out your mind and understand that life is pretty special. You just have to be willing to see it, accept it, and then deliver upon it. Much love to you all. Until next episode, guys, happy holidays to everybody, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you for listening to the That's Life podcast. Please leave us a 5-star rating and any feedback on whatever platform you're using.